Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. All I'm saying, next time, bring the evidence. All you do, you come here, corruption. How come? Just here, next time you come here, bring your stuff. I am not talking about that. I'm talking about you in 2024, December, saying there's corruption. Bring it.
Let me ask you this question. I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, to an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is their right. Unlike the right that someone has, all of the rights exist in context.
What is the concept of second medical opinion?
Because you disrespected the process. Now, Jesus, this is common sense, man.
Any situation which you seem to do, you just deal with Afro Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing. And if two, you can't put forward a future of blueprint and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Hi there. Pleasant Friday evening to you. This is the Freddie Kissoon Show. As you would have noticed, I didn't say this is the call-in edition of the Freddie Kissoon Show. We do not have a call-in program this evening. That is because we think it's election, not we think, it's election period. And there's so much to discuss about election. We will still have our call-in, hopefully, but Leonard, Craig and I want to exchange views. We want to speak to you on how we see things unfolding. Now, did you see last Wednesday the interview with the current chairman of Region 4, Daniel Siram? He was very scathing on the lack of leadership of Aubrey Norton. So there's a lot of things going on politically. Christopher Ram, as you would know, last Monday, Leonard Craig took a big swing at Christopher Ram, and I did so too in my Monday column about the things Ram quotes, whether he is quoting it correctly in his condemnation of the government. There are things going on all the time. Aubrey Norton may be coming unhinged as David Hines. Well, crazy attitudes Aubrey Norton is adopting. For example, Aubrey Norton is the leader of a historic political institution in this country, the People's National Congress. David Hines belonged to no significant political entity. The WPA is dead and gone. So you want to know why, when David Hines say crazy things, Aubrey Norton would say, no, we can't comment on that, we wouldn't condemn it. It is really crazy. So there are lots of things to discuss. So no calling. Tonight, Leonard Craig and I discuss Guyana, sociologically, politically, culturally, what have you. I want to start by asking Leonard Craig, how could Aubrey Norton not look at the crazy things David Hines are saying and said we would not condemn him? You have to condemn people who say things that are culturally, religiously, and politically unpalatable.
Freddie, I made a reference to this ad nauseum on this program, and I wrote about it several times in my article, that the PNC under Aubrey Norton, you can see, let's go back to Granger and Harmon, that duo in charge of the PNC. You were seeing strident steps, albeit not satisfactory to my mind. I think, especially that period in government, they could have done better. Because when you have the power of state, you can do more than you can do when you're in opposition. And I didn't see them take enough advantage. But you still saw an attempt. Daniel Searam, who was on our program
Last Wednesday.
he is a product of that. Gita Chandan and so many others. Then is when, during that period of time, is when the nation really took a liking to Ganesh Maipal. So you can see that effort was being made, albeit, in my opinion, not sufficient. But under Aubrey Norton is like a complete about turn. Aubrey Norton allowed the diversity in the PNC to just die a slow death, a slow poisoning of the diversity. And David Hines now is coming to bury that diversity, like literally dig a hole more than 6 feet deep and bury that diversity. When he tells people things like, don't put your mouth in black people's story and all them kind of thing. If I am your neighbor, I am East Indian and my neighbor is black, and your neighbor is in a little turmoil, why can't I go on? I mean, and so what I see happening in the opposition, and the AFC is not much different anyway. And what I see happening is that appeal to protect the quote-unquote black votes. But I don't think David Hines quite understand. You see, from his perch in America, I don't think he quite understand the temperature on the ground in Guyana. I don't think David Hines understood the real seething political things that are happening among black people. And when David Hines got a few cheerleaders, he thinks that represents all black people in Guyana. When the truth is that the black people are flocking the PPP. Now David Hines talking about slave catcher. A lot of these people, you ain't gonna go and catch them. They coming and seeking you out. There are many that are seeking me out, asking me how they could make an entry to the PPP, how they could contribute to the PPP campaign. And not just me. When we spoke to Daniel Searam on Wednesday, for the Wednesday program, we were having a talk, and Daniel told me that he went to cluster meeting, campaign cluster meeting, and the majority of people in that Georgetown cluster meeting were people who he knew from Congress Place, people who supported once, and they have not gone to Aubrey and the others and say here, because they feel that the leadership was not accountable to them, and so they are not accountable to the leadership, so they just don't go. And these people feel that they are protecting a turf. This is the time when you got to spread out. I am telling you, if I were the leader of the PNC or the AFC, what I would have done was go on a blitz, on a diversity blitz. I would go in deep into the heart of East Indian areas and show people a different color of both parties and try to recruit them. But instead, people are telling you, don't mind black people business. Leave us alone. Let us consolidate and we'll be all right. That's not winning any elections anytime soon. All that is doing, to use the term Sharma Solomon used, all that is doing is protecting your reservoir. Water not gonna go in, but over time, what's in there is going to be evaporated. Even if you don't open it, even if you protect it, the water will evaporate, because this is an arid country most of the times, and the PNC is going through what you call political aridity.
But Daniel Siram didn't use the word aridity. He was stronger. He said it's going to be diminished. But here what I want to ask you, Leonard. You can flow freely on this. The PNC under Burnham. When, oh my goodness, this man up in Norton is ignorant of even his country's history and his party's history. When Burnham split with Jagan, do you know there was, in the PPP, do you know there was some significant big names?
Yeah.
Indian big names in the PPP that went with Burnham, and from then on, the PNC and the PPP had some huge big names from the other side.
Yeah.
Jagan was so close to some Africans like EMG Wilson, Winley Ben. The only man that could have called Burnham Udu was Steve Narine, that the man he made the Minister of Works. From there on, the PPP and the PNC sought diversified membership. It was like a thing with them. Craig, I'm older than you, and I could tell you in the 80s what happened in the PNC and the PPP. If you're Indian, and you're an engineer, you're a university lecturer, you're a journalist, and you're gone to the PNC, it's upstairs you're gone. They just want this Indian come, and you're gone, whether it was under Burnham or Hoyt, because they want this catchment to make the party appealable to a multiracial nation. When is the PPP? Lumumba, luncheon come, and luncheon became after Jagan died. Next to Mrs. Jagan, the leader of the PPP. This is the Corbyn. Corbyn had his ways, but Corbyn had Peter Ramsarup and other people very close to him. Well, don't talk about Granger. Give him his due. You know, Granger never went in the direction. You want to know what is going on with Aubrey Norton? Now, the Geeta Chandan thing. This lady is a member of parliament. This lady is in your party. A WPA person at a meeting say, Indian people, as I said in my column Wednesday, Chandala is a Hindu name meaning the lowest caste. This woman at the meeting say Indians are really low caste people that come here with nothing, who they think they are. They could never rise up there. And Geeta Chandan, one of the PSC member of parliament, said, I object to Indian being talked about like this. David Hines then react and say, was she pushing she mountain black people's story? The woman didn't push her mountain black people's story. The woman reacted to insults on her culture and her race. David Hines got up on the Freddie Kissoon show and called her a slave. But he called her a slave catcher. Then on the program he called her a slave catcher and then said, do not push your mountain black people's story. And the woman is in a party that is led by an African Guyanese. And this man is going to say, we are not going to criticize David Hines. How that woman feels?
The thing is...
Aubrey Norton is gone, completely gone.
The thing is, what I find is that there is a lack of political creativity in the opposition. If these things are ongoing and you are hemorrhaging, and you're hemorrhaging your diversity, and you as leader cannot find a creative way to sidestep what David Hines is saying without making, because I think that is what Norton is trying to do, not to make bad friendship with David Hines, because he see David Hines
and look what
as helping
to
consolidate the right to keep the reservoir shut. So he see David Hines as an asset. But even when you have an asset, you sometimes your asset gets dross on it, and sometimes you've got to get a harsh chemical. That thing we used to have.
Fumigate it.
That thing we used to have in our kitchen named Vim.
Yeah,
That powder thing.
Vim gone, yeah.
It's like
How do you know Vim?
It's like
You
a
too
harsh
young to know
chemical.
Vim.
No, I know Vim, buddy. It's like a little harsh chemical. You rub it on thing and you get it shine, but you know you got to rub it a little bit. And I think Aubrey Norton cannot find a creative way of doing that. A creative way of saying, look, we respect Gita, we respect what she had to say, and you know, we urge David Hines to tread a little lightly on these matters, or whatever it is. But you, as a leader of a party,
It didn't come
you
to
can
Gita
spend
Chandan rescue.
you could spend some brain power and design a method of approach. Yeah, let's assume that the press caught you off guard the first time they asked you the question. But this thing is ongoing. David Hines continued to assault Africans who he see as being even mildly condemnatory to the PNC or black leadership. And then he continues to assault East Indians who he see or make unfriendly statements to the PNC. And so it's an ongoing thing, and Aubrey Norton months upon months cannot find a creative way of handling this. And it just shows the paucity of creativity, paucity of leadership, and all of that. And Aubrey Norton is for the doubling down. He said that in this election and the post-election relationship, political relationship will represent one that people who show commitment to the party, if that is not a strong message to people that you gotta have the long ago old style PNC die in the wool demonstrated behavior before you have any chance to be anywhere near leadership or anywhere near political leadership in the PNC. And that is a clear signal. So that if you now come into the PNC, think you literally don't have an avenue unless you prove yourself, according to the leader. The leader himself said that. The leader didn't even ask his general secretary to say that. He didn't ask his chairman to say that. He said that himself, which is a discouragement to anybody who's thinking of, hey, you know, I can come to the PNC now, I can make my contribution, and then after the election I make further. There is no room for you. That's what the leader of the PNC saying. There ain't got no room for you.
But I got another one for you. The guy said at the press conference when asked about David Hines, shortly after he said race relation is going to be one of the priority after the elections.
After the election.
Race relation.
If
You need race relation to win the election.
I didn't hear that part, but if that
all
is,
over the news.
if that is what he said,
Yeah.
then it further cements my point that they got a little reservoir and they're trying to cover it. And I'm telling you that because the country's so hot and humid, the reservoir is going to dry up by what that process name it's going to evaporate by that process, right? Even if you cover the tank sweats and then the water dry up little by little. So protecting your turf ain't gonna help. Because if you got a region, the largest region in Guyana, and the chairman resigned, the vice chairman resigned,
And gone over to the PPP.
and gone over to the PPP, and not only that, there are several other councillors who are inactive in the PNC, and they're sitting councillors on the region.
he's gone. He's gone after the elections. There's nothing can save him, I think. The people, Daniel Siram said it Wednesday, and he has to know he was in the war room of the PNC. The analyst has to know he's going to suffer a serious diminishing returns, electorally speaking. And I think they're going to go after him in January.
Who? The PNC?
Yeah, they're going to go after him.
I
think everybody's going to come out. The Granger, Joe Harmon, Carl Greenwich people are waiting. The Amanda Walton, Rosedale for them, they are waiting. They are waiting. I got bad news for Norton. And if you're listening, my source is good. 3 big names are leaving. 3 big names are leaving shortly.
I am hearing that too.
My source is good.
I am hearing that too, but
my source is good.
For me, I got to see it before it happened. But you see, what Norton they should have pursued was a counter to the PPP. What they are doing, it should have been look. The first thing, especially to start with the AFC, the crisis the AFC had was a crisis of relationships. And because of poor management of relationships, the AFC began to lose its people even while in government. Even while in government, the AFC people began to drift, and the AFC did nothing.
I remember saying how in history and in the present world, I remember writing this in a column. When you're in power, that is when your office is overflowing with people they're wanting. When you pass AFC office in 2016, it was deserted.
No, not 2016. Yeah.
When I went to Survival Supermarket in Sheriff Street, I saw this young lady as a cashier. That was in 2016, and she used to be around when I was speaking at meetings. Her husband climbed up pole. I said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I get no job. I can't even see them people."
Yeah, and do you know that while the coalition was in power, the seat of the opposition leader was flooded with people on a daily basis? And that is why some of the
people want you vote for them again. What the
it's
hell?
unimaginable, Freddie. Even if I don't like my regional chairman, and even if I don't like my vice chair, they are representing my party, and I got to touch with them every day, and I have to give them guidance. I have to give them instructions. I have to talk to them about the party. You could imagine Aubrey Norton saying for 2 years he is disconnected from the chairman of Region 4 for 2 years.
And the chairman of Region 4 probably has more latitude than a minister. You know what's Region 4? That's the heart of Guyana.
And how you are a political leader and you can use your Region 4 chairman for political leverage. How you can't... How I can't understand when I sit down and listen to what Aubrey said about the regional chairman and about people leaving the PNC. I feel sad.
But there's only one party that wants to collate with him for September the 1st. T. Mohammed say no. Anouk said that is intrinsically written on their biology. They say it clear. So it's only AFC trying to stay alive, and
I believe that's a lifeline for the AFC.
Right, and if it doesn't happen, everybody gonna pull votes from. Do you know I saw a video of T. Mohammed in Barbies Leonard, Craig, go and see this video. A whole set of African Barbician talking to Azwaddin Mohammed. People are so fed up with the PNC that they're going to walk over to T. Mohammed, to Anug, and as you've been saying all along, to AFC. And I believe PNC is going to be so devastated that Norton cannot survive that leadership. After.
You know when I said just now I feel sad that Guyana does not have a credible opposition. That is the sadness, that the opposition ain't even got a comeback, a rhetoric to the opposition is just emaciated basically. And also when I looked at the opposition in pity, the PNC more so, well both the AFC and the PNC, I look at the AFC in pity when the AFC said they're not contesting the 2023 local government election because they don't like the list. How is the same list? How come they're contesting now? They're not contesting because they don't like the list. That wasn't the problem. The problem was they ain't got no boots on the ground. They ain't got no soldiers to go in the field and war, and so they chicken out. Rather than one good thing Aubrey Norton said the other day is that you gotta go to war with the soldiers you have, not what the soldiers you feel you should have. And the AFC couldn't. But the other part of that, the PNC went to war with the soldiers they had. And apparently the PNC thought that they would be devastated in the elections. And they weren't. The core of their support held support with them at the local government. And there were big celebrations. And there was motorcade and all of that celebrating that they retained New Amsterdam, in which they lost 2 seats in heavily Afro-populated sections of New Amsterdam. They lost seats in Georgetown. I
want to throw out a scenario for you for our viewers. I don't think he can step back now, Norton, and allow a consensus candidate. He has gone too far. He has consistently said, we the largest party, the bulk of work will fall on us. You cannot just wish us away like that. And I am the leader. You are wishing away the leader of an entity of which we are 90%. And he's gone so far with that he cannot walk back it. So I think the PNC is going to enter the election as the PNC. AFC is going to enter it as the AFC. One of the disadvantages they have, given all that has happened, that we haven't discussed as yet in this program, is whether people will vote for them given their position on the election in 2020. Leonard, I think people aren't going to vote for AFC or PNC because they're going to say they're going to hold a free and fair election in 2030. I don't think they're going to hold free and fair election in 2030. Look what them people do in 2020. So that is one disadvantage they have. And here what I'm asking you, when the results is over and Norton get devastated, how can he survive when the Greenwich, Granger, Harmon, those kinds of people, Gary Best and all of them, then he got to deal with Walton Desert, Rosedale Ford, and all of them in February 2026. And he has just about 15 seats. He lost about 10 or he lost about 12. How is he going to survive? I don't think he can. We are witnessing the last of Norton.
I would want to see, I would hesitate on that a little. Here why. The people who support Norton are the raw heart and soul of the PNC. And I'm not talking about the elites. I'm talking about the feet, the people, the marchers.
No, I have to stop you there.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, when Norton became the leader, nobody wanted to hear the name David Granger, Joseph Harmon, Basil Williams, and a whole set of them because they lost power. And Norton just knew this is the right time. And he won with less than 50% of the vote. People just said, no, we give up. When in 2020, February 2026, your party get reduced by 10 seats, people just could look at you and say, nah, we don't want to see you, we don't want to hear you. What Norton benefited from after AP and you lost government, what Norton benefited from, others are going to benefit from in February 2026.
Perhaps, but as I said, political core support generally don't change because somebody is in
No, we're
battle.
talking about leadership.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
But what about
to become the leader, you need the core support.
Yeah, but
And most of the people, most of the soldiers on the ground, the Carol Josephs and people who, the mobilizers of the party, are Norton supporters. How are you converting them back to Rosedale Ford when that animosity between the two camps have already existed? The Rosedale Ford and others do not have that organizing class in the party behind them. And they have got to work day and night from now. Now that you have an election campaign, they got to come out for the party and they got to start controlling some groups. As you go out to campaign in the different area, you're doing two campaigns at the same time. You're winning the hearts of people on your own side, in your own camp, the ground on the boots people, and you're also trying to win the general population. And that insidious attachment to those people, maybe that can translate, but as it is right now with animosity between the group, you saw what happened to Frederick Kissoon.
No, but you could have a Brutus reference to Julius Caesar. You could have a Brutus situation where from within that same group, from within the Carol Joseph ambience, from within the Norton world, you could have someone saying, Aubrey is not, I think he's going to be either 6. In 2016, he was 60. So what is he going to be in 2026? He's going to be around 69 or 70. You could have from within that Carol Joseph environment or that Aubrey Norton environment, someone saying, man, Aubrey is 70 now. He was we soldier. It's time we take over. That could very well happen. Why can't that happen?
I'm saying it could, but I am saying I don't foresee it
Shortly after the election?
Right. Sufficiently enough to cause that revolution that you were talking about, because it will take, strange things do happen, but I am just projecting based on what I know of the PNC, right? If you look through the PNC in all the regions, the people who are the organizing, the strong organizers on the ground, because if you come to a Congress, the first set of people you call are the organizers.
No, man. There is a huge overlooking of a historical factor in politics. And that is your right-hand man is the person who challenges you. And there have been so many coups in the third world. In
So who
so there could be a right hand man.
who Valda Lawrence?
No, I'm not. I don't know, but no name.
I don't think
I don't know, but no name.
Mhm.
But there could be a right hand man who says, "Look, I am 46. I got 20 years more in politics. Aubrey is 70. Aubrey was my leader. Aubrey served. But this thing ain't looking too nice."
But-
and I believe that's the way it's going to go.
No,
it's your
Freddie-
right hand man is challenging.
Freddie, it means you don't have a knowledge of what's going on in the PNC.
No, I have a
Hansel-
knowledge. I have a
Hansel-
knowledge of how humans behave.
Yeah, but okay, inside the PNC, let's look at the couple of persons. They got this guy named Hansel Jordan. That is one
Vince
of
Roy Jordan.
Vince Roy Jordan.
They got he.
They got this other
They got
guy,
Sherwin
Sherwin
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
And
all
then
of
they got
them are-
another Sherwin.
Right.
Sherwin.
All of them in their late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, but those are not people who are popular with the groundswell. They are not popular with the foot soldiers. If you say somebody like Valda Lawrence, if Valda Lawrence mind change from Aubrey Norton, she could cause a revolution because Valda Lawrence is probably at this time probably stronger on the ground than Aubrey Norton is, or just as with the foot soldiers. But Holden and Jordan and those guys, they're gonna be dismissed. And that is why people like Walton Desir and Roysdale Ford did not get any traction. People admire them. People think they could be competent leaders, but the organizers on the ground are not enamored with them, and so they are going to orchestrate who goes on the list to Congress and all of that, and the votes are going to go either for Aubrey Norton or somebody hand-selected by Aubrey Norton. It's as simple as that. Either Jordan or one of them going to rise up, but not as a rebellion, not as a coup d'etat, but with the blessing of Norton, Lawrence, and the other foot soldiers, the Carol Josephs, this guy in Essequibo Dunbar, the other people, the organizers.
I have listened to you, and I think there are two perspectives here. One, an analyst speaking about what he knows about the PNC and the reality in the PNC, and then me, the other guy, who believes human nature is so limitless that these things happen. But let's move on to two persons that we may not see anymore politically after 2025. I think Kemba Ramjatan is on his way out. I am not sure he wants to go back in Parliament. He may be persuaded to go on the list. And if AFC doesn't have a good showing, I don't think Nigel Hughes, with his ego, will want to go into Parliament under 2 or 3 seats. If it's 10 seats and what have you. That is why he's so desperate to have APNU AFC, because he's going to sit down in Parliament with about 15, 20 parliamentarians around him, and he's going to be one of the big voices in that gallery. If he gets 2 or 3 seats, I think Nigel is going to resign for the 5th time from politics.
Yeah. Whether they go alone or by coalition once they lose, I don't think Nigel has any post-electoral longevity in politics. You look at it from all angles, it just doesn't make sense. So what is Nigel's going to stay around the AFC for? To build it back for 2030? Nigel Hughes, the leader until it just wouldn't work. For the AFC, it wouldn't work for Nigel. And as you say, I have a sneaking suspicion that it might not be the best thing for the AFC for Kemraj Ramcharan to be back in Parliament. I think
Raphael is gone, of course.
Raphael will move off the scene. Probably will still continue to give advice to the AFC.
Or could that be the end of the AFC?
Well, that is what I'm coming to. I was about to say that AFC will be struck with a bout of WPA-ism, in that after Rodney passed, the fort was only kept for a while, and then the WPA went into political exile, literally self-exile, if you wish. Right? You had a co-leader, two co-leaders, and they didn't do anything politically. Right? They just pursued a professional career, and I think the AFC would have to be carried by David Patterson and Cathy Hughes, because I believe Sherrod Duncan is gone. I believe Jaretta is gone. I believe anybody in any second tier leadership would probably be gone. And
they're not going to allow an Indian to head it. You may have 1 or 2 Indian right now, Ricky, the parliamentarian Ricky Ram. They're not going to allow him to head it. They're not going to allow an Indian to head the AFC.
I won't go that far, because after the election, AFC will become desperate to have a form, and I think David Patterson, for example, is looking for an off-ramp a long time now. But because the party is being trapped continually, David Patterson has to stay on, right? But I think he's looking for an off-ramp. And even if he stays on, he's going to take a back seat. And the AFC will just, by 2030, the AFC will be a
like what you call TUF, the United Force.
Yeah.
Exists in name only.
Right, by 2030. Because I don't see how the AFC could come back and reclaim its glory. The AFC chance to reclaim its glory was when Nigel Hughes came into the leadership, and he should have immediately
move away from the baggage.
Yes, he should have immediately gone on a recruiting blitz, like literally go to people. Some people who became inactive, he should have gone to them and say, look, this is Nigel Hughes. I don't know what was the issue you had with these other people. I am Nigel Hughes, and there's going to be a resurgence in the party. We want your support. I call many former AFC and dormant AFC people. I say, y'all receive any call, anybody call you, anybody ask you to, and every time I get the answer, no. And so I think that ship has sailed, and the AFC is now just downhill. But when Nigel came in, they had a golden opportunity to reset, and no reset took place.
But it shows that he's relying on this deception of Nigel Hughesism, that I am Nigel Hughes, and if I take over this party, I don't have to say 2020 election was rigged. I don't have to say I am Nigel Hughes. I think he didn't see the need to talk to those people. He didn't see the need to say I wasn't there when these things was happening. I was never a minister. He felt he didn't have to say that because he was Nigel Hughes. And I'm telling you, it shows seriously, look, I don't think Nigel knows politics. The amount of mistakes Nigel Hughes have made. I have known the man, and I really thought that he knew politics. When I saw on social media and on television, he answered a journalist's question about how do people feel when their buses were burnt, their lorries were burnt. And he just immediately sprang like a wolf and said, PPP agent provocateurs. I said, no, this guy is gone. This guy doesn't know. This guy. The PPP is going to milk that. When you go to people All you have to do is set up your meeting by Leonard Market Square, by those Market Square, set up your cameras and say, listen, this is what happened on April the 28th. Look at the stores that were burned. And you have video of your phone there. And Nigel Hughes is saying, it's not these people who do it. He's done with, when the rubber hit the road, when Nigel Hughes see what the PPP is going to do with him, you know, he's going to have a heart attack. Just play those videos of what...
I won't want you to say that, you know.
Oh, sorry.
He's going to go through political trauma.
Sorry, I withdraw that.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to go through trauma because you know, I see T. Mohammed walking around. This is June. This is the first week plus in June. In August, people are going to hear about the Main Street incident with Azaruddin. This is Guyana, a small place where you can't hide when something happened. It happened in Georgetown, and through social media, the people in Amsterdam know. And there's so much of skeletons that Azaruddin Mohammed has. That in August, when they keep dropping out to the cupboard, you know,
But not just his skeletons. I don't think...
This playboy...
I don't think there is enough in Azaruddin to sustain people's attention into the election. There is not yet a political fight on his hand, a campaign mounted against him. And while he's walking around, the other thing is that Mohammed's camp does not have sufficient organizers and ground soldiers. So he's going to suffer from burnout. Who does he have that has a political stature that he could send that, here, look, y'all go to Northwest District on my behalf and tell the people vote for me? He got to go himself because he is the only recognizable figure, and he's going to suffer. He can't be here, there, and everywhere. When the PPP start dividing their people, when the PNC with all of their known figures start touching base, Mohammed...
he's the party is him.
Right, his political apparatus will not be able to withstand that. So this foray that he is having, let him have his 9 days in the sun, and all of that will evaporate. Because I believe the PNC will recognize that Azaruddin, because the PNC, I believe, if you listen to some of Norton's rhetoric on his press conferences and how he refers to the Mohammeds, I think he believes that the Mohammeds will come and barge into PPP support base, and that might give the PNC an edge. But when they realize that Mohammed is drawing from the very PNC, they themselves are going to come out swinging against him.
Dave,
so he got a real hard...
I think it starts with David Hines.
He got a real hard thing coming towards him.
I wonder if he saw the recent videos of T. Mohammed in Wazikna. It was a lot of Afro-Guyanese. It was Afro-Guyanese.
Yeah.
You see what is happening with Norton. I think I have given up on Norton having any analytical ability. No, I think Norton is gone intellectually. So Norton would understand that the supporters of the opposition, the people who don't like the PPP, they are looking for an alternative. And that alternative is not the AFC or not the PNC. They say, man, this Anug or T. Mohammed. But I don't think Norton is intellectually astute enough to see that The people who are gravitating to T. Mohammed is because they find the opposition lackluster.
Yeah, yeah.
Does not
Even
understand
though AFC's newly minted political proposition for a consensus candidate, Terence Campbell. Even Terence Campbell is not getting traction among the people. He tried his hand at a little protest and a little that.
He got reduced the cone he's selling for $1,000.
Man, leave
got
the
that.
man,
He
leave
can't
the
sell a
man
cone for
business
1,000.
alone, man.
What
The
do you
man
mean?
is a franchise, and the people determine the price from overseas, not in there.
And that's the man that can beat me by my president.
But
selling a
that is
cone.
the man's business. It's not. Don't let me go there. Don't let me go there.
No, we have to go there because
No,
it's
it's
into
not.
politics.
Yeah, but
You cannot be have a business and selling a cone for $1,000 and then at the same time telling people you can elevate the economic status of squareheads.
yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Probably
go on.
paying his employees well. I don't know, but I won't go there. But I would stick to his political his thing, and he is not getting any traction because people do listen. Sometimes you think people do listen to Campbell, and Campbell come over several times as defending David Hines, and so that attractiveness, people see all of them. You know, you don't see no freshness. There's no freshness to Campbell. As it is right now, the only politician that got a freshness to them is the same Mohammed. But I don't think Mohammed got enough gas in the tank to sustain the barrage, the political barrage that is to come. I don't think there is sufficient in his armory to withstand that. And very, very shortly, he is going to fall off the cliff. Right? So he got to enjoy his moment.
We say radar.
Well,
Fall off the radar.
well, he might still be on the radar, but in
If you
terms
fall
of
off the
support
click
base-
on the radar, I'm gonna pick you up.
Anyway, so people understand what I'm saying, and I've never been near to Mohammed, and I don't intend to go near to him, so I'm not gonna be pushing anybody. But he gonna slide. He's gonna experience a political slide very shortly, right? Because at no time do you ever count out the PPP, and you will be silly to count out the PNC, right? Because the PNC got a strong core support base. And while a lot of their supporters are looking for leadership that Norton is not providing, you still can't sit down and count them out, right? Because don't underrate political sentiments. And the PNC themselves might go on a blitz, and Mohammed's gonna be in the political dustbin, literally.
And what I think there is going to be though. My source is not that bad. There's going to be an alliance between Anug and T. Mohammed. I don't know if it's going to help T. Mohammed or it's going to help Anug. But
It may help.
I'm getting that from some.
It may help T. Mohammed in Georgetown, because Anuk's people are all Georgetown based,
But they're
and
mulatto class.
right, and they could mount probably some good campaign and some good walkabout in Georgetown, but I don't see that helping Mohammed anyway outside of Georgetown. Not even on the East Coast, right? Anuk themselves do not have a political machinery. You see, again, I'm saying Mohammed, Anug, they got these smaller parties, VPAC, they got this lady, Simona Brooms.
But
All of them.
I'm supposed to know the name of these parties. That's my job. What's Simone Boone's party?
I can't remember
the
the name.
Builders Party.
And all of these people are going to feed on this in the same school officials. They're not
Same pond, the fishes.
Right. They, by themselves though, I don't see them making a dent. And I've already said on this program that if they are inside of a formal party that has a machinery and a structure and all of that, they could wreak havoc. And but by themselves, I don't see them making a mark. I don't see them inspiring anybody. And a lot of the PNC support base that some people would say when you walk around in the streets and so on, they're not going to vote for Norton, but they can't see themselves voting for the PPP. So a lot of those people will stay home.
We haven't discussed that, and that may be our next program when you and I dialogue. We should call this edition of the Freddie Kissoon Show, just like how we have the Friday edition. We should have the dialogue edition of the Freddie Kissoon Show, where you and I dialogue. You and I have a dialogue. I think we will call it that. That is something we have to look at. That Nigel Hughes may get a surprise. People may say, look, I can't vote for someone like Terence Campbell. I can't vote for what the PNC has come. I don't like the PPP. Look, let it try there. It could be that. The Anouk case is interesting. I think if Timothy Jonas and Kian Jabur continue to project themselves with Anouk, right? I think if they continue to do that, Anouk may fade out, because Timothy Jonas and Kian Jabur are just typical mulatto Creole people. And how many of them are going to throw in their lot with Anouk when you have Nigel and so you have two mulatto Creole party. You're going to have Anouk with Timothy Jonas, half white, King Jabur, half white, two mulatto Creole guys. And then you have the Terence Campbell, the Nigel Hughes, the Cathy Hughes. So I don't know how that is going to play out. How is that?
And the other thing about all these small parties, most of them are Georgetown based. And a lot of them don't know the terrain outside of Georgetown, outside of Region 4. And so that won't help anybody. But if they are in a group, they can all concentrate on Region 4. And so the big parties then could use their people outside of Georgetown. So for example, if Brooms and some of the others who I called earlier,
Brooms is going to take votes, if she gets votes, from one source only, the PNC rank and file.
Yeah, but that is what I'm saying.
Working class African
That's what
women.
I'm saying.
Working class African women.
I think Brooms got roots in Region 7 and of course in Region 4. And let's assume she has connection there in those two regions. But that is by herself. Imagine if she was in the PNC. What would have happened? She would concentrate on one of the two, and then a person who the PNC would have had to put or plant in Region 7, they would no longer have to do that, and they could deploy that person in Region 8 instead, because now Brooms got control of Region, you know, that kind of thing. And they got this guy from Linden, my classmate in high school, Nigel London. I think he has a party too that I can't remember its name.
That guy, Musa, he's a preacher.
Yeah,
he has a party too.
I think they call him an apostle or something like that. I think he has a party.
They're gonna have a religious name. Party of
No, it has a name,
Party
but
of the Apostles.
I can't remember the name.
And then Durbin Best has a party.
Yeah,
VPAC?
that is VPAC. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I can't
Vacuum.
remember. I would have to write down all those things, these names, and commit them to memory. There are so many that
I do not know. I do not know what Keith Scott party is, you know, which is part of APNU. I know it's National Democratic something. I don't know if it's Front, Alliance, or what.
National Democratic Front, I believe.
National Democratic Front.
Yeah. So that to me, that's what the landscape is going to be like. The game, the political. I don't know if we should call it a war, but the campaign will team up. Will be teaming shortly. The hot part of the campaign, and we will see who got legs to stand. Of course, I would be working. I'll be out in the field. I'll be working. And when I work in day and night, midnight, morning, anytime I available. Literally, I was telling somebody the other day that I'm available 24/6.
But the problem with you is that you're going to come to all the meetings and all the public meetings, all the bottom house meetings late. You're going to come to these meetings late, and the people in the bottom house can say the chairman can't start the meeting because you're late.
That ain't happening, Freddie. I am a election animal. I love election.
I think
it's a new level, a new injection of adrenaline when election campaign.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's a nice part of your life. Campaigning, you meet a lot of people. You see different people. You see the patriotism of people. When I look back at my life, I am telling you, if I become president of this country, I would legally charge the AFC leadership with treason and put them in jail. When I campaign for these people,
it sounds like Trump.
when I campaign for these people, see how people wanted a change.
Yeah.
People think this was it. Guyana gonna leave. Yeah. It's opprobrium.
You saw.
It's scandalous name behind, and now take its place in the CARICOM family of nation. Ramjatan.
Yeah.
Nigel Hughes. Dominic Gaskin, and these people in Guyana just. And then these people took it and behaved.
Yeah, you saw people.
I would charge them between.
You saw people lose sleep. You saw people defend the stage that is set up for thing with their life. You saw people put up flag. You saw people.
I saw people climbing pole. At me. I want to know what the hell you doing. You got a ladder. Come down from there.
Yeah.
And I saw the husband of a woman I know on that pole. And I saw her at Survival Supermarket. What happened to you and your husband? We didn't get
you
no
saw
job.
The clash between parties when two parties meet up in the same,
We gotta go. I hope you get a glimpse of my cat that jumped on the table twice, and then I had her in my lap. That's my baby. His name is Ginger. So we have 3 of them. So this is a new format. We didn't give it a name, as you know, Leonard Craig and I rap in. But we call it the Leonard Craig, the Craig Kissoon Dialogue. The elections are on, and we will have our dialogue. As we did the entire hour, we analyze the prospects of the different parties. We will still have our calling on Friday. We'll see how that goes. We will see you with our guest on Monday evening. Have a very pleasant weekend. Pleasant weekend to our operators. A pleasant weekend to my co-host. Catch you later. Bye-bye.